foundation of this channel is grounded in two concepts, religion and politics. I often hear the phrase separation of church and state. What does this mean? How are we to interpret this phrase? Unfortunately, there are still religious states in this world whose governments are guided by deistic ideologies. However, the United States is not, nor was it ever intended to be one of those nations. Our Constitution calls us to make legislation free of discrimination, that all men are created equal. There are a multitude of religions in this country, not to mention the atheist population. Therefore, to incorporate a particular belief into any law would cause a constitutional dichotomy. In other words, it is unconstitutional to incorporate ideals into legislation which cannot be backed by scientific evidence. But don't just take my word for it. Let's take a look at what some of the founding fathers of this nation and our earliest presidents had to say on the matter. For instance, John Adams, our second president. The United States is not a Christian nation, any more than it is a Jewish or Mohammedan nation. Or perhaps Thomas Jefferson, our third president. Christianity neither is nor ever was a part of the common law. And what about our fourth president, James Madison? The civil rights of none shall be abridged on account of religious belief or worship, nor shall any national religion be established, nor shall the full and equal rights of conscience be in any manner or in any pretext infringed. It is evident that the founding fathers of this nation intended it to be a secular society, with laws completely free of any religious beliefs. It is now 2015, and our species has made incredible leaps in understanding our world. The collaboration of so many ambitious and brilliant minds has built an incredible collection of knowledge through scientific discovery. Yet, somehow, many places in this country remain stagnant in their social progression, living lives in a technological world restricted by ancient ideologies. This is a result of allowing religion to encroach on legislation. We must give our science community the ability to conduct research without the burden of religion impeding their progress. And we must allow our citizens to live lives in a society which maximizes the benefits of that research. Let's start with arguably the most debated topic of modern politics, abortion. Our science tells us that a fetus is not viable before the 21st week, which means it is not possible for the fetus to survive outside of the mother. In fact, the youngest fetus to survive a premature birth was 21 weeks, 3 days old, which occurred in 2006. And only due to improvements in medicine over the past few decades does a fetus have a chance of survival before reaching 24 weeks. As our technology improves and our society advances, perhaps one day we'll be able to prevent the need for abortions in modern societies completely. In fact, our current scientific advances allow us the capability to grow a fetus in a laboratory in a completely sterile environment free of any harmful exposure. Not surprisingly, many people who oppose abortion also took issue with the medical advancements of in vitro fertilization, calling these acts playing God, yet themselves take no issue with enjoying many of the advantages of modern technology. And the cultural hypocrisy rears its ugly head as we hear the echoes of religious sentiments which continue to permeate our legislation. As science is constantly forced to tote this thin line of ethical gray area, we can only hope that more people start to understand that in the end, every human being has an inalienable right to body autonomy. We have a right to decide what happens with our own bodies. A fetus is not a human being, and it does not have rights. This is not about personal opinions, feelings, or beliefs. This is about facts. If you do not agree with abortions, it's very simple. Do not have an abortion. In addition to their disapproval with the work of the scientific community, many of these individuals have historically taken issue with basic civil rights, most notable in recent years, marriage equality, many claiming the demise of marriage. Enter this guy, Josh Duggar, one of the many faces which represents what it means to be a Christian in America. In addition to paying porn stars for sex while his wife is carrying his child in her womb, his other hobbies include molesting children, including his own little sisters, publicly speaking against equal rights, and perusing Ashley Madison's website for his next affair. This young man appears to have been hand-picked and groomed for a political career focused on implementing his religious beliefs into our laws. Seriously, GOP, just shut the fuck up. Scientific advancements and social progression are not the factors that have ruined this country. Now, I'm not going to name any region in particular. However, there are many citizens of this country who do not agree with what I'm saying. They believe that it is their fundamental right to impose whatever cherry-picked version of their 2,000-year-old religious sentiments onto our legal system. They believe that they have a biblical duty to ensure that everyone live under the laws of their God and be subject to their piss-poor examples of morality. In November of 2016, we will select the next leader of our nation. So who's it going to be? Who are we to entrust to govern our society as intended by the rules of science, ignoring all religious concepts? Well, Obviously, it would behoove us as a society to oppose the electing of any individual proclaiming their intent to use religious ideology to guide their decision-making. You don't have to agree with the funeral picketing lunatics at Westboro Baptist Church to qualify as an extremist. For example, Mike Huckabee, the former governor of Arkansas, ordained minister, and current presidential hopeful. He does not ascribe to the theory of evolution and has proven skeptical about climate change and the role human beings are playing on the overall impact. He should know, right? After all, his bachelor's degree is in the scientifically esteemed field of religion. That's right. He has absolutely zero knowledge about our world outside of his Bible. What does Bill Nye have to say about climate change? Climate change is happening, humans are causing it, and I think this is perhaps the most serious environmental issue facing us. Or what about Neil deGrasse Tyson? Climate change is taking on political dimensions. That's odd because I don't see people choosing sides over E equals MC squared. Mike is a man who in 2012 blamed the Sandy Hook Elementary massacre on the removal of God from our public school system, stating, "We ask why there is violence in our schools. We have systematically removed God from our schools." His understanding of the correlation between mental illness and school violence pales in comparison to his lack of understanding of his responsibility as a politician to uphold the Constitution. He has consistently used his Christian ideology to justify legislation he supports, from blatant LGBT discrimination to forcing child rape victims to carry pregnancies to term. Let me remind you, this man was the governor of a state for 8 years and wants to be our president. It is these extremists which we must eradicate from our political system. There are many other examples of religious extremists infiltrating our government with clear intention of imposing their God's will, but religion isn't the only object impeding our progress. Large corporations continue to buy elections, and you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to see it. In fact, you'd have to be a blind sheep to not see it. For the doubters, I'd like you to meet the Bush dynasty, formerly the United States of America. We have systematically allowed this family to manipulate our government for personal financial gain for nearly 200 years. Are people in this country honestly so naive that they believe these individuals relied solely on votes to gain power? Do you think it is a coincidence that so many powerful politicians could be connected by the same family tree? Tell me you are not that stupid. Please. However, never has the offense been so egregiously obvious as in the last few decades. The once fantastic dreams of a prosperous, secular society have been replaced by an apathetic and often cruel oligarchy. They are now working on the presidential hat trick as they attempt to continue their rule with this guy, Jeb, as he makes his run for the commander-in-chief spot. He is the former governor of Florida from 1999 to 2007. That's right, the governor of the state which decided the controversial 2000 Al Gore versus George W. Bush presidential election was none other than the younger brother of George W. Bush. Needless to say, it is still a highly controversial subject. Understand one certainty. If a Bush is in the White House, we will be at war, as their family lines their pockets at the expense of lives both foreign and domestic. In April of 2013, Forbes magazine published an article titled "The Disturbing Link Between Psychopathy and Leadership," which discussed the prevalence of psychopathic tendencies amongst business leaders. Apparently, it takes a special kind of evil to do what many of Wall Street's finest do on a daily basis. Stealing from our nation's middle class to the point of poverty, watching as entire families lose everything while they pack their offshore accounts with billions of untaxed revenue. On that note, meet Donald Trump. I don't think there are words to truly describe this man, but hey, I'll give it a try. He's a prejudicial, insufferable, uneducated, misogynistic megalomaniac. Let's have a look at what Donald has to say about climate change. The concept of global warming was created by and for the Chinese in order to make U.S. manufacturing non-competitive. Really? Are you fucking kidding me, Donald? How did you manage to cram that much ignorance into a single statement, you fucking psychopath? His notions on immigration policy and blatantly racist remarks are as audaciously atrocious as his hairpiece. Seriously, Donald, fuck you. The fact that anyone would consider this man for anything other than inpatient therapy is a mystery to me. The fact that people are considering him as the next leader of this nation is terrifying. Clearly, many citizens of this country can be manipulated into literally anything. And what can we say about Hillary? Well, if you get Hillary, you get Bill. But seriously, what were we going to call them if she wins? Is it Mrs. and Mr. President, or is he the first gentleman? In all honesty, there are only two positive points to Hillary Clinton winning the presidential race. One, it would be a historic mark for the advancement of women in a society and world that has oppressed them since the beginning of known history. And two, it would prevent any of the aforementioned extremists and psychopaths from destroying not only what is left of our once great nation, but possibly our ability to sustain human life on our planet. However, understand one fact. Nothing would change. Life for 99% of our citizens would not benefit from the election of another political pawn of the corporations. Privatized prisons will continue to earn billions at the expense of human life, while Wall Street continues to make a mockery of our legal system as they steal billions out of our economy on their way to avoiding federal income taxes. The corporations own both sides of this coin. They own it all but one. Meet Bernie Sanders, dubbed the Amendment King by fellow legislators in the House of Representatives. This man has earned that title by passing more amendments than any other member of Congress. That's right. He actually spends his time as an elected civil servant making the necessary changes to our legislation in order to better the lives of the citizens he is elected to represent. He does not just collect a paycheck and expect everything to just work itself out. Bernie has made it clear that he is disinterested in playing the pawn politics of the large corporations. He's not absorbed with running smear campaigns or attempting to discredit his competition. Mr. Sanders is concerned with solving the tangible problems of the vast majority of this country. His focus is on reversing the impacts of climate change so that future generations inherit a world which can sustain their needs. Rebuilding our nation's crumbling infrastructure. Taking on Wall Street. Making college affordable for everyone. Making healthcare a right for all. And raising the national minimum wage. These are the issues which we must address now. There's no time for complacency, holding on to the false notions that it will work itself out, that the next generation will fix these problems, or worst of all, that it doesn't matter because the end times are coming. Now is the time for a grassroots revolution. The people must take back the power so that we may control our own destinies. I agree. We do need to make America great again, and I think it's possible. However, a billionaire real estate mogul is not the answer. Our government is not a reality TV show. We must not allow ourselves to once again be conned by the oppressive dictatorship of the 1%. That is why it is crucial to elect Bernie Sanders in 2016. And who knows, maybe one day we'll elect our scientists to make the decisions that will guide the future of our nation and our world. This has been a public service announcement, courtesy of Secular Satan.